4 years ago, I gave up my home and became a nomad. I got rid of most of my stuff, I stored the rest, and I went on a journey. On a quest to find out what is my role in this world that's facing so many challenges, and how can we best help young people find theirs. I studied environmental science and I ended up working at university. I was passionate about teaching, and I got involved in setting up and running innovative educational programs at our university. But more and more, I started to feel something off. And I felt like I was playing a role in a theater play that I didn't believe in. I started to see our society as a play that we play on the stage of the earth. And while there's many things that we achieve that are really, really beautiful, we also know that the play is actually ruining the stage. And there's so much inequality and suffering within the play. And our education is mostly inviting us to learn to play a role in this play. And it's hard to not be part of it, because we need to make a living. And soon enough, many of us start dreading Monday and looking forward to Friday. And I felt in my job, I felt trapped, and I felt a loss of meaning in the work that I was doing. And it took me a year to realize this can't continue. It took me a year to realize that part of me was slowly dying. And a year for the fear of wasting my life to actually grow bigger than the fear of stepping into the insecurity and into the unknown and the loss of income that comes with that. I quit my job and I went on a journey. And I felt alone. I felt alone when I started. But later I realized there are so many people that go on these kind of journeys, like 18-year-olds that choose for a gap year instead of going straight into university after high school. Or 20-somethings stuck in their studies or in their job that decide to quit and to go traveling. Or career shifters or midlifers. My good friend Manish Jain from India names this group walkouts. People who are walking out of the status quo of their life and walk on into a life that's more meaningful. And I'm wondering who in this room feels like he or she is a walkout or sometimes thinks about walking out. I'm just curious who. There we go. So that's quite a few of us. My quest was inspired by a deep yearning that's best described in these beautiful words of Frederick Buechner. Where does my deep gladness meet the hunger of the world? Where does my deep gladness meet the hunger of the world? And my quest started traveling. I traveled to the US to visit people and places that I found inspiring. And after half a year, I came to this insight that actually most of the solutions are really out there, but it just needs crazy people to do it. And I felt, this is my role. I want to help make that happen. I came back to the Netherlands and I got involved in setting up a school for exactly this. It was a place for young people between 20 and 30 who want to make a difference in the world. And this is the school that was the predecessor of Knowmads. I was really happy and excited about what we created. And at the same time, I felt something is off. Something is not completely as it could be. I felt partly we were still stuck in the play. And I felt we're not quite radical enough. Not a very nice insight after 4 years of working on a project. You think, oh, this is not quite it. During those years, I picked a book out of my bookcase that I didn't even remember I had. It was a book about rites of passage into adulthood. The ways that many cultures had to help their young people move through adolescence into adulthood. And now this opened my eyes to a completely different approach. What I learned is that in these cultures, to become an adult and play a role, you first needed to go on a journey outside of the community, often into nature alone, to step into the natural world in which the community tried to make a living, to gain an outside perspective, to connect with the mystery of life, and in that space so far away from the village, to find out some kind of truth about yourself and about your gift. And after that ordeal, you were expected to come back as an adult, bringing your gift and those insights into the community. And with that, the community would continuously be infused by new inspiration and new gifts from the young people that returned. And if you think about it, that's quite different than inviting people to learn a role in the play. And also this walking out, where my walking out was about feeling trapped, this walking out was something that was actually organized in the community, in the culture, to become a responsible adult. And also the walking out itself, it was a walking out way beyond the culture, much further in a way than, for example, a backpacking trip to Australia. Looking back at my own journey, what I realized is I haven't been quite on such a journey. And looking at the school, I realized maybe this is the missing link that I felt in running the school. So another quest started. I went to the US to train with people who are bringing these rites of passage into Western society. And on one of my trainings, our group and our guides went out into the American desert of Utah. After a year, almost a year of preparation, we were going to spend 3 days and nights in the wilderness, completely by ourselves, with only water. My place was on the edge of a huge cliff. In front of me, a vast landscape with yellow and red rock formations. And here and there, green patches of woods and shrubs. And far away in the distance, there were mountains, big mountain range. And around me, this unimaginable silence, only once in a while broken by an insect or a bird. And in that vast space, in that immense space, I tried to make sense of my life. I tried to piece together all the pieces that I'd collected the years before. And standing on that edge, for the first time in my life, I got a sense, a real sense, of the core of who I am. After years of letting go and disconnecting myself from beliefs and parts that I learned are not me, I finally got a sense of my soul, of my place in the world, of my gift that I'm here to bring. It felt like being connected to a deep source of inspiration. And it felt like something I could commit to the rest of my life. In that moment, something shifted in me. Something shifted from being a wanderer and a seeker to actually knowing enough. To knowing enough and to realizing what I want to do now is bring this, what I found, into the world in the most powerful way I can imagine. It felt like I'd finally found my home. In this place, in the desert, that image of our society as a mediocre theater performance on the stage of the earth became very real. And while the sun was slowly setting, I started to dream. I started to think. Imagine, just imagine if every one of us would go through such an experience. Imagine if bankers would be inspired by this perspective as much as by spreadsheets and profit. Imagine if you could only set up a business or run an organization after having gone through such an experience. What would the world look like then? And I asked myself, is this the reason why the indigenous peoples had their rites of passage? Because they knew when we would not go through such an experience, we would start to feel disconnected and create a mess. And then thinking back about my own journey, about feeling trapped and walking out, I asked myself, is the reason that so many people, so many of us, are feeling trapped and walking out, is that a symptom of the lack of rites of passage in our society? Did we lose a process that's crucial to find our place in the world and to create communities that are healthy and in harmony with nature? I see a world where more and more young people are concerned about what's going on, and they're creating their own learning path as an answer, weaving together work experiences, travel, online learning experiences, universities becoming only one small part of their journey. I think the higher education landscape is really shifting to a form that's more appropriate of our times. And what I would love to be part of this new landscape is this invitation for a deep connection to our souls and to our gift to bring in the world. I'm dreaming of a society where rites of passage are fully integrated again in a contemporary way. I'm dreaming of a society where the support for these journeys beyond the play is as powerful as our schools and universities. And I'm dreaming of a society where there is a sense of wonder again about the mysterious beauty of living on this planet. And I think that is an idea worth spreading. And for me, my invitation until that moment in between, my invitation to you is to have the courage to go on a journey if you know you should, and to find the help and the guidance that you will need along the way. And then the experience of fulfillment, to find your place where your deep gladness meets the hunger of the world.